All right, guys, welcome back to Principal Outdoors YouTube channel. So we're going to continue on with the basics of bass fishing, and I did a second video on a general look at lures, and now we're going to break down the lures. So this first video is going to be about surface lures and just subsurface lures, just below the surface. So let's start with topwaters. Everybody loves fishing topwaters. Most of us started fishing with topwaters. It's such a fun way to catch fish, great way for kids. Quick note, if you're fishing with your kids, tie on a topwater for them, a small topwater. They won't get stuck on the bottom and they get to see the fish strike. It's the easiest thing. I used to do that with my two boys all the time. Put on a little popper like that, and just let them go crazy with it and cast all over. And it was great. You can put it on spinning tackle for them, very easy to use. So one suggestion there if you're fishing with kids. So yeah, topwaters. I mean, there's a million topwaters out on the market. So I'm not sure, how do you find out which one are good? Well, you know, I guess you could say topwaters are kind of like chips. I've never met a chip I didn't like, obviously. There's so many topwaters out there, and there's so much that do really well. So a couple of the basic ones is like I showed you before. This popper right here, this just catches a pile of fish. Very easy to fish. All you do is cast it out and you just pop it, let it rest. You can actually, one of the things that's not done very often with poppers, and I came across this pattern a few times, was to fish it really fast. So instead of just popping and waiting, I would just pop, like aggressively and violently, and that would trigger strikes. I can't remember where I came across that pattern, but there was a couple of days or a certain area where that's the only way they would hit a topwaters was a popper fished really aggressively. So try that as well. Another one of the most popular ones recently is this. Originally it was a Whopper Plopper. This is a El Chapo from Berkeley, I believe. And this has a big spinning blade on it in the back here. And this makes a lot of noise on the water. And all you do is cast and just reel it in. That's all you have to do. And it just gurgles and plops and makes noises. And surprisingly, it catches the snot out of the fish. It kind of blew me away. I was kind of surprised. I heard about it on the market, and I saw it in my dealer stores, and they're saying how it was selling well. And a friend of mine outfished me on it one day, 3-4 to 1 with it. They were just smashing this thing that day, largemouth, fishing over weed beds and stuff. So, and since then I've used it more often, caught a lot of fish on it. So, Whopper Plopper or El Chapo. One of my favorite ones is this right here. So this is called an Abino, and this is from one of the companies that I work with called Nishine Lure Works. And it's a new topwater coming out. It's going to be out in July. There's a video I did on it coming out as well, where I talk with the man, Hiroshi, who designed this topwater bait, and he put a lot of thought, a lot of research into this bait. The best thing about this bait is it's totally customizable. So I'll go over it quickly. Hopefully you'll watch that video. But you can actually take this prop up here. You can take it off. You can unscrew this hook eye here, and you could reverse the prop, or you could take it off completely. Same thing with the back one there. And then this one has an actual blade on the bottom here that doesn't actually spin, but what it does is it hits the side of the bait and it makes a very interesting noise in the water. And so this one, I've actually used prototypes of this last year and caught a lot of fish on it. They really wanted it. It makes a lot of noise, very similar to a Whopper Plopper, but a different kind of sound noise because of the metal blades. And one thing you got to think of, metal blades, it's not really a natural sound, in the air when we hear it, but in the water, and what a fish hears is totally different from a human. So it does make very natural sounds in the water. It's going to ship with a little weight on it as well, that you can actually add a weight or two weights, and it can become just a subsurface lure. So that's going to be very interesting. So again, it's called an Abino. There's going to be about 5 colors in it, and it's going to be really, really good. And then one of my old school favorite topwaters is, this is called a Spitton Image. So I honestly don't even know if this is still available, but I just wanted to bring it out because this is a walk the dog type of bait. So what it means is you'll fish it and you'll give it slight jerks like this, right? And what happens is the nose goes left and right and left and right and left and right, or right and left and right. So it just kind of walks the dog from left to right. This exact bait, this particular bait right here, I've caught in late October in northern lakes. I've caught smallmouth schooling in 100 feet of water where they're actually following bait fish out in deep, deep water. And I've caught big 5 pounders, 5.5 pounders on this bait out there. And so it's, again, it's a walk the dog type of bait. The original one was this, called a Zara Spook. Now these are old school topwater baits, but trust me, they work. And you know, a Zara Spook like this or a walk the dog bait, pretty much every hard bait company has a lure like this. So there's so many available. Find the one that's right for you. It's a bit more of an advanced topwater in the sense that you have to learn how to, you have to get a good cadence going and really working it well so it does the left and right, the left and right. But for some reason, it's an action that that bass really can't resist. Whether it's smallmouth or largemouth, they really, really smash it. So that kind of covers surface baits. Again, you know, there's I've never met a surface bait I didn't like. So try out whatever surface bait you like. Now the important thing is rods and reels that you can fish it on. So a couple of things here. Topwater baits, obviously they got to float. So you don't want to use fluorocarbon with it. Fluorocarbon is great line, but it actually sinks. So it will pull the nose of your bait down. So don't fish it on fluorocarbon. You can use monofilament. That works great. I pretty much always use 17-pound monofilament for my topwaters. Occasionally I will go to braid if I really need to cast long. And I'm worried about getting hook sets into it. Then I'll use braid. But if I do use braid, I do not tie directly onto the hook eye. I will always use a snap. So that's what a snap is right there. Now, a lot of bass guys will tell you, oh, that's crazy. You can't use a snap. You know, the bass is going to see it and he's not going to bite. There's no way a bass sees a snap like that on a lure. There's no way, right? So do yourself a favor, use a snap with your topwaters. Makes it easier to change them as well. If you're using a really small topwater like that, maybe the snap will actually be too much weight and it'll hinder the action of the topwater. But otherwise, use a snap, okay? So either monofilament, heavy 17-pound monofilament is best, and the snap. As far as a rod, so when I talked to you about rods and reels, I talked about using getting medium action rods and medium heavy action rods, both in 7-foot. These topwaters have treble hooks, okay? So when you have treble hooks, it's harder to get a good hook set. So what you'll do is you'll use a softer rod. So that's one thing that you got to consider with your rod choices. If you're using treble baits, use a medium action rod. If you're using a single hook bait where you can really set the hook hard and you want to really get that one hook in, then you can use your medium heavy rods. But otherwise, for treble hooks, use medium action rods, okay? So that's topwaters right there. The other kind of surface lures that I want to talk about, it's really subsurface. But I wanted to include something else besides topwaters, and that is shallow running crankbait. So here, this is the shallow running crankbait right there. The reason why it's shallow running, you could tell, is because of this small bill on it, the small lip on it, as opposed to this one, which has a large lip on it. So the large one would be a deep diving crankbait. Anything with a smaller lip will be a shallow running crankbait. You will hear them called square bills and stuff like that as well. But yeah, just a small lip crankbait. And these can sometimes go up to 4 feet of depth, 5 feet of depth. But the interesting thing with these is, depending on what line you use, will change how deep it goes drastically. So crankbaits, you want them to be in the water, so you're okay to use fluorocarbon if you're using it. You can use mono too, but it's not dangerous to use fluorocarbon. And just as an example, like if I put this, normally I'll use this on 12, maybe 14-pound test for average use, and it'll go down to about 4 feet, 4 feet, 2, 3, 4 feet, depending on the lure. But if I put this on 17-pound test, it's only going to go down 1 or 2 feet. And if I leave it on 17-pound test and I reel it very slowly, it's just going to crawl below the surface, right? So that's why I put this in the category of upper level in the water column. So shallow crankbaits. Again, treble hook, so you're going to want to use the medium action rod that you have. Most likely a bait caster. Just quickly to recap, bait caster, spinning reels, they'll take up to 10-pound test. Anything more 12, you should go to a bait caster. So, like I said, I'll use this from 12 to 17-pound test, so always on a bait caster, medium action. As far as colors go, on a crankbait, again, you don't need too many colors. I would go with a super light color, like a chartreuse. For some reason, chartreuse on crankbaits works really, really good, whether it's a black back, blue back. Chartreuse is really, really good, especially in stained water. And then the second color would be this, like a natural color, like any one of these colors. That's a good natural color as well, right there. So something that looks natural, right? So crankbaits, you really only need about two colors, I would say. Topwaters, color choice in topwaters, whites are always good. So I was debating this with Hiroshi Nishini. We were both actually agreeing, so not much debating going on. But we were realizing that when a fish hits a topwater, he may fish it straight. He might attack it straight from underneath, but he may also come from the side, so he may get a good look at the color. But I wouldn't worry about color. If you're picking one color for a topwater, go with a white color. I don't know, white always seems to work good. Light colors like that. Or if you're really particularly trying to imitate a specific forage base or type of minnow, you can go with a darker color like this is a baby bass color. If you know what's in the lake, you may want to try a color like that. But experiment and take a look at it. And yeah, so fish topwaters, going to be a lot of fun. Best time to fish topwaters? Well, there's really not a really bad time. I've noticed post-spawn largemouth are really good at topwaters. Those females kind of head out to deeper water and they kind of sulk because they've just spawned. And they will hit topwaters over deeper water. It's kind of interesting to see that. Smallmouth will just hit topwaters anytime almost. I mean, yeah, there's better seasons. The fall, like I said, late fall can be really, really good. I'll tell you one story about topwaters. I remember fishing a tournament years back in Quebec, and there must have been 1 foot waves, which is not huge, but 1 or 2 foot waves. It was a pretty big lake. And we actually found the pattern that was fishing topwaters that actually had blades on it, kind of similar to that, in the waves. So we would cast them along the waves. It had to be 2 foot waves. It was like, you wouldn't think a topwater would work in that much disruption on the water surface, but it was the only thing. These big smallmouth were coming out of weed beds in 15 feet of water in these big waves and hitting these topwaters. It was the strangest thing, and I don't think I ever replicated that pattern anywhere. But so that's it. That's the first level, surface and just subsurface. And next we're going to talk about mid-surface lures. Now we're starting to get into the good stuff, so we'll do mid-surface lures next. Thanks again. Keep watching. Please hit the subscribe. Hit the like. It adds up every time you hit the like button. So please do if you did like it. Thank you.